adult sons, both of whom deal with some anxiety and one of whom has a significant history with depression and who is a transgender male. When I first noticed signs of depression in Carter, he was 7th, maybe 8th grade. He had been a very outgoing elementary school child, and by middle of middle school, he began to get very quiet. He began to isolate more, be more intimidated around his peers, and he had a phone by 8th grade, and he started sticking his nose in his phone a whole lot more rather than looking up and participating in life. Our role in getting him treatment began with really understanding what was going on with him, because while we understood that he was questioning his gender identity, we didn't know a lot about depression, and we did not know how to parent a teen with depression. He was expressing a lot of self-doubt, and we thought that was a school concern and a peer concern and adjustment to his new school environment. So we sought input from the school counselor, who began talking with Carter about depression. We worked with her for quite a while. She met with Carter quite regularly, educated him about depression, and recommended to us that he get an independent therapist outside of school. He was a difficult to treat teen. He was very treatment resistant, and we had to try a number of different therapeutic modalities and environments. So we began with talk therapy that included a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy. And he was very optimistic at first, but when it wasn't a magic pill for him, he became soured and decided quickly that therapy was not working, which was a factor of his depression and also his personality. He had several inpatient stays because he was expressing suicidal ideation. And again, he believed that the inpatient stays were supposed to somehow miraculously cure him of his depression without him doing any work. So when he came out still feeling depressed, he became more depressed. So we were on this cycle of descent into harder and harder times with him. And one of his therapists ultimately suggested to us wilderness therapy because the traditional residential programs were not helping and outpatient therapies were not helping. So in a moment of complete desperation, really, we sent him to wilderness therapy, and that was the start of better times for us. The types of things as a caregiver that I have employed came with time and learning, so it wasn't natural in the beginning, but I did learn that with his permission, I needed to be more open about what was happening in our family so that our friends and family could support us and give us, honestly, breaks when we needed it. It's very, very hard to parent a teen with depression, and it can feel debilitating because whereas everything you've ever read in the parenting books seem to have success here and there is no real roadmap. It just depends on the child. And so we were not natural experts in how to help him or how to take care of ourselves in that process. So in terms of Carter's gender identity, he was identifying as non-binary, and it wasn't until he came home when he began to talk about identifying as male. And I don't know if it's tied to being more comfortable at home and with us, but that's when it happened. And for us, what we observed was once he came out as male, we were very accepting and open and curious and non-judgmental. He began to bloom in a way we hadn't seen before. He began to feel comfortable and excited about the changes he could make in his body and his life. And it definitely impacted his improvement in terms of his depression. Carter he receives therapy now. About once a week, sometimes a little bit less, but specifically through an LGBTQ plus friendly therapeutic group. I think that's very helpful and validating for Carter to have that therapist. He also takes medication to manage his depression, and I think that that gives him a baseline comfort and ability to be able to engage in therapy. My advice to families who have a child or teen with depression is to get busy, do your research, talk to people, find your other parents who are in a similar situation, because that's where you're going to get support and advice that you may want to try. If you have a child in the LGBTQ plus community, they need to know that they are part of a really wonderful part of society, and find their friends and have people to lean on. It's great as your parent that you are supportive and welcoming and embracing, but you're their parent, and they need people outside of their family unit to validate that who they are should be celebrated. In some weird way, the hardest experience of our life as a family has improved our lives, every single one of us as well.